Part 2. So Web3 is the next version of the internet, and it's built on blockchains, chains of blocks. Each one of these blocks is like a page in a notebook, and anytime something new happens, a new block or a page gets added. But each page remembers the page that went before. So if somebody tries to change an old page, all the future pages in that sequence break. That's why blockchain is so secure. Nobody can secretly change what happened in the past. No single government or company can own this. It's made up of thousands of computer nodes. So even if one node goes offline, it doesn't affect the network. And everyone can see what's in the notebook. So there's no room for sneaky business. It's also completely unbreakable. You can't destroy it. Even if you break one, there are thousands of other copies in the sequence. So how it works. You send data. That might be a digital currency, but it could also be a contract or a vote. Send it to the blockchain, and the computer verifies it by doing some weird maths that we won't get into. And once it's verified, it gets added to the blockchain forever. Every block in this blockchain has a unique number that connects it to the previous block. If somebody tries to change a block, all the future blocks break. This immediately exposes any attempt at fraud and makes blockchain tamper-proof. We see with cryptocurrencies that it's allowing for trade without banks. You can send money to anyone, anywhere, anytime. But it offers us a range of other features that are never discussed. It's not just Bitcoin. Blockchain technology can be used for money, contracting, decentralized computing. So the world's your oyster, social media tools, new websites, none of it owned by billionaires anymore. It can also facilitate voting. Using blockchain for democracy gives us transparent, fraud-free elections. The mainstream narrative is that digital voting is insecure, but digital voting has only ever been implemented in a way that's centralized and controlled by corrupt institutions. The moment you mention this decentralized alternative to voting, people instinctively dismiss it. That's not because it's not workable, it's because you've been conditioned. You believe that democracy must be mediated through the state. You think that voting machines are corrupt, and yeah, they are when they're controlled by governments and corporations, and we have election fraud, and they're hackable systems. Digital voting has only ever been implemented in hackable systems, but they really want you to believe that digital tools and voting shouldn't mix. This is propaganda because we've never actually seen a decentralized democracy. We have only experienced the illusion of choice under the nation-state rule. Web3 is terrifying to the people in power because this removes their ability to rig elections. They can no longer manipulate the results or maintain their bureaucratic control. Web3 eradicates the need for politicians. So of course they want you to think that it's unsecure. But if you can use it for banking and contracting, then suddenly it's insecure when you want to use it to vote. People get this knee-jerk reaction when it comes to these systems. And it's a reflex that's programmed by propaganda. If people take just 10 minutes to understand how it works, they see the potential immediately. I asked in Discord this morning what people thought of Web3, and a lot of people focused on crypto. I explained using it for decentralized government is also an option, and I had one guy first say, "Oh, what's that? I've never heard of it before." And when I said, "You use it to vote," he replied, "Voting and digital, two concepts don't mix." But you just said you didn't even know what it was. And yet your automatic response to me without even hearing about it was that voting and digital systems shouldn't mix. That is the biggest load of psyops that you can possibly come across. How do we know they don't mix? We've never tried it. The example that's usually pointed to of why voting and digital don't mix are these janky D or E machines that the US tried to bring in at one point. They were using optical scanners and there was known vulnerabilities. At DEF CON, the hacker convention, they literally were demonstrating how insecure this thing was. There was no paper trail at all. And there was numerous instances of unauthorized access to these machines. Comparing this to the blockchain is laughable. First of all, it's obsolete technology. Look at the hack of this yoke. That's not what I'm talking about. And this was when they were introduced, the technology was already over a decade old. And the machines that the American government bought had component failures in them. Comparing that to modern day blockchain technology is... where's the critical thinking gone at all? Blockchain was already available and this is what the Americans rolled out. You'd feel like that was nearly malicious. In the 2016 elections, they had at least 42 of their states complain about the screens freezing and the systems shutting down and that creating voter frustration. So the Americans had a really traumatic experience with digital voting because their government tried to do it in a cheap and ineffective way that still enabled the government to have that centralized control. They don't want to give up their centralized control, so they're going to roll out bad electronic voting systems to make you think that this is a bad idea. Think about it. Blockchain puts politicians out of work. We do not need a representative if we can vote directly in a democracy. So of course they're going to make you, they don't want you to think, they want you to think, stop being a foot soldier for billionaires. Let's debunk now the idea that voting on a digital system won't work. Because you're stripping away all of the nuance of the fact that these digital systems in these examples where it was tried had repeated failures in their design. They were not built on blockchain at all.